welcome to this platform, to this interview. It is really nice to have you. I know you already introduced yourself briefly before, but if you don't mind, for the sake of recording, can you just do a brief introduction again so we can have it recorded as well? Thank you.
Of course. Yes. So thank you so much for having me. I remember listening to lots of these kinds of, and earlier in my journey. So it's wonderful to be able to give back. Um, my name is Adanna Chukwuma, Associate Vice President for Economic Growth and Private Sector Engagement at CARE.
Mhm.
And, I think, I have the best job. My day to day, I live, breathe, driving access to capital and financial services for women all over the world, but especially in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Look forward to the rest of the conversation.
Okay, thank you very much, Adanna, and it is once again lovely to have you on this call. So, of course, to start the questions, we usually go back to the very beginning, how things started, right? So, back to the beginning. I know you studied medicine while in Nigeria, but now you're more in the social impact space, right? Doing what you're doing through social impact and informal finance and all that. So, how was it like starting this journey? How was it like moving? Well, I know you did not completely move, but how has it been blending both medicine, not practicing medicine, and doing what you do currently, the journey where you started, and how that has led you to where you are right now?
Right. Okay. So I decided to be 7 years old. My father died, sadly. He passed of brain cancer. And
I'm so
as a
sorry.
child, that was such a rock. It completely rocked my family. Yeah, so just seeing how a health issue could completely upend our livelihood. We lived in Kenya at the time. My mom had not been in the job market for 11 years, had to figure out. So just the shock of how health could affect a family, make understand medicine. I need to make sense of this thing. And so fast forward years later, I'm in medical school. I was
Mm-hmm.
doing really well. And, penultimate year of medical school, I was going to the clinic to see a patient in a friend's car, and we had an accident. Our car swerved off the road, somersaulted into a ditch. My spine was hurt. It was a blur. I find myself, I'm in the hospital. They strap me down to heal my spine. And you're there, you're thinking, oh my God, the tingle in my hand is not functioning. What's happening? But do you know that was not the main concern? The main concern is I was in a private ward, a medical student. I had no health insurance because what did my mother do? She was a teacher here, missionary there. So of course she didn't have health insurance, right? She had to sell her car to pay for my hospital bills. It still was not enough. So it was at that point that I'm about to become a doctor. I understand medicine. And I realized you can have the best doctors in the world. I was in a teaching hospital and still you don't have access to health care, right? And so it started a conversation between me and my mentors on what shapes who gets healthcare. Conversation continued when I did my NYSC. I went to Yobe State, which, if you're not a Nigerian, the south and the north of Nigeria can feel sometimes like two very different countries. In the south,
Yeah.
most people are born in hospitals, they go to school, they all get like maybe a first degree, an average. In the north, it's very different reality. Very few kids get vaccinated. There, junior doctor, I was the referral would come to me with the midwife take care of them to the children's hospital. And there again, I was confronted with women who could not make decisions on their children's care. I was confronted with the long distances, who decides if there's a doctor insurance or not. So I was just going to take one gap year, I honest to God, and study this thing. And I said I would go to Oxford and do my master's. Went to Oxford and fell in love with just how economics gave me language to unpack
Mm-hmm.
all these sort of factors that shape how people have access to opportunity or not. It gave me language to sort of think about who are the different players in the system, political economy, the minister, the governors, how called who are the called or not. Part of my journey, medicine, to health systems more broadly, then to international development in the World Bank, where I could take my economics and apply it first to healthcare and then more broadly to social services. And then I landed in Visa, where it was focused on financial services, the same tool saying,
Mm.
what shapes who has access to opportunity versus not working with it. Ways, I still take my diagnostic hat as a doctor into conversations, but my lens for thinking about what is driving things has broadened now with
Yeah,
economics, right?
yeah,
To other factors beyond the human, their body,
yeah.
driving, their situation.
Okay, thank you so very much for that introduction. That journey, honestly, I mean, sorry about the bad experiences that you had to go through to get to this point, but that was really nice. I mean, the why is very visible. The why you're doing what you're doing is very clear. And that leads to the second question of how that why has shaped the strategy that you have put into the work that you're doing. I mean,
Mm,
like you mentioned, you started from World Bank, moving from World Bank to Visa, and now you're with Care. So how has
right.
that shaped the entire strategy of the work that you're doing, both as an individual and as an organization with the people that you have worked with over time?
Yeah. I mean, when I think about my why, in some ways, I have lived the problems I'm solving for, right?
Mm,
Me, medical student, unable to pay her bills, selling off her assets, my mother selling off her assets because she doesn't have access to care. Then in the World Bank, as I'm sort of sitting across a minister, shaping reforms on who gets access to healthcare, who gets access to, social services. Big problem we kept running up against is the informal economy. We say, okay, how will we pay for this reform? We will institute an income tax. What about the trader and the farmer who
yeah,
doesn't have a regular income, who the
yeah,
government cannot see? In
yeah.
many countries, people would resign themselves to the simple solution. We will cover the government people. Now, that's what's happening in Nigeria. 5 to 10% of the population has health insurance. They all have federal government jobs, state government jobs, or they work in big corporations. 90% of the population, traders, farmers, they're driving a keke napep. They don't have, the day they need healthcare or they have to pay school fees, they have to just go find the money somewhere. There is no insurance. And so I experienced it on my own. And as
Yeah.
I was building reforms, it's almost like there's a whole chunk of the economy that was just completely off, I couldn't even deal with, I couldn't even help sort of address, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing. So when I came into care, I recognized immediately the opportunity
Mm.
in the Village Savings and Loan Association, right? There
Yeah.
are 500 million people in the world organized into groups of 15, 20, 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
They meet. In Nigeria, we call it a susu. They meet, they contribute money in this pot.
Yeah.
When you have school fees to pay, you say, oh, I have 100, I need 200. You go to the group. You say, will you give me this extra 100? They give it to you. They say, with a little bit of interest, we have looked at your behavior. You repaid last time. Take
Mm-hmm.
this 100. You pay your school fees. You keep contributing. CARE has instituted savings groups that have reached 30 million people.
Mm.
That is infrastructure in this informal economy that governments are not able to see. And so far, the private sector has ignored,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's how my why I experienced, I saw it. I was working for one of the most powerful development institutions in the world, and we were hunkered and trying to figure out if we are partnering with the governments, how do we also bring the informal sector into it? And in care, in many ways, I've landed on an important solution to that problem. Is the informal economy has its own structures. And that's the key. Something powerful that I've learned from that is it's called positive deviance. It's when you come into a community and something is falling apart.
Mm.
So let's say no kid is getting immunized. Go find the family where there's a kid that's immunized and ask why. Because if you find out what works for that family, it will work. It is likely that it will work for the rest of the community because that is a solution that has been developed within the local context.
Yeah.
Now, the VSLA is a solution that has been developed in the informal economy to solve for access to finance and access to opportunity. In
Mm.
the hardest places on earth, in Somalia, Sudan, in Uganda, There are VSLAs. So positive deviance says, let's focus and understand that, unpack it, and use that solution to expand opportunity to everyone else. That's the first thing I have taken in, lesson I'm taking from. The second thing, you cannot do it alone. Whether it is working with VSLAs, we partner with banks to give them access to finance, we partner with market actors to buy their goods, we partner with fintechs so that the record keeping is digital. Whether it is my work in the World Bank, sometimes I led conversations where I would look across the room. On one side is the IMF, on the other side is the Civil Society Association. The kinds of, you see, this thing we are trying to tackle is so complex, and everyone owns a little part of this space. One of the most important skills is being able to pull together people that own the different parts into a coalition and to figure out, okay, how can we work together? If we define our goal as this, and the only thing we can modify is everybody has access to finance, you have this piece, I have this piece, I have this piece. How do you fit those together? That's why my job is so interesting. Because my job, I spend most of my time building relationships, whether it is with the VSLA leader or the person on my team who's coordinating, or it is with the bank manager, or it's with the development finance bank, vice president. It's figuring out how do we make these connections for this complex issue between all these people that are interested, because together we can solve it, and focus and ensure they do not overlook this local solution that is really important that right now we're overlooking, right? That has been crafted. So I think my answer was really long, but
You have
as you
actually
can see, I
started
enjoy talking about
touching,
it.
you've started touching a couple questions that I have already, and I think that's good. So, I mean, you already mentioned care a lot in what you've been saying, and then you talked about a couple things about how you approach some of these issues. But first of all, let's take it back a bit to
Okay.
before some of the answer things that you mentioned in your previous answer, and let's talk about care, right?
Mm.
Care as an organization for somebody who has never heard of care before. How
Mm.
would you
Mm.
describe care for them, right? And I mean, SLA is women focused, so we talk about women a lot and finances for women. So when you talk about reaching
Yes.
out to women within, Pan-African or generally Africa as a continent,
Yes.
reaching women, the
Yes.
last mile people, the informal
Mm.
sector, not just the ones that already have
Mm.
access into, there are
Right.
people who already have access into some of these
Right.
stages, and so it is easier for them to access it. But there are informal
Yes.
people, informal participants within this ecosystem that still struggle to access finance, especially as
Yes.
women. So what is care and how does care address that issue generally for African women? And I mean
Okay.
globally as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So CARE is an 80-year-old organization where the organization was started after World War II
Okay.
to support the rebuild of Europe after it had been decimated in the World War. It started with a care package. People in North America said people are suffering across the world. They'll take a box and they'll put in essential supplies and we would ship it over. And that's just like the World Bank, right? And over 80 years, our mandate has expanded into a focus as an international humanitarian and development organization that does everything from support linked to emergencies, to healthcare, to education, to enabling access to financial services. Now, in my work, I have the privilege of leading the teams that support women economic empowerment at care and access to finance. And the way to think about this, I would think about what we do, is I'll just think about like over the past 2 years, foreign aid has reduced significantly. USAID was shut down. It was one of the biggest funders of development aid in the world, right? They say the number is 25% reduction, billions of dollars, literally, right? Disappeared overnight for programming. Now, I want you for a moment to picture the woman that is in our programming and how she experienced that, okay? One day, she was in her community. Somebody was financing vaccination in the local clinic. Somebody was offering her a cash grant for her business with her chickens to buy more chickens. Somebody was offering a little top up for the school fees. The next day, disappeared. We all got stop work orders, and that money completely vanished. It's capital flight in real time, right? Now, it so happens that Care over the past 5 years, for 30 years, we have been working with VSLAs. It started in Niger, yeah? Niger, sorry. And we have expanded it across the world until 30 million people have been reached in 67 countries. But over the past 5 years, we had started articulating how do we intentionally connect the woman in a village savings and loan association who needs access to capital to formal finance. And that's so important in this day and age, because suddenly the grant financing is gone. So how does our programming matter in this moment? One, the savings group is a pool of money that meant that in the face of that shock, she was not left destitute. We have found that in crisis context, the women who are in savings groups, they are more likely to maintain their income. Their households are more likely to maintain their consumption, even in war, because they are part of the savings group. They are faster to bounce back to the income level they had before, because they are in this savings group pooling resources. And it is those women in those groups that when there is a crisis and every other person escapes, they are the ones with the micro business, the trader and the retailer with the corner shop, the cooperative that comes together to have a little factory that is processing palm oil. It's those women. Now, what CARE has done is not only to support those groups and to be set up and to expand and to scale, but we have figured out, okay, how do you determine which group is healthy and is functioning well, and which person in that group has the capacity to manage a good business? We look at her books. Oh, you have your little chickens. Is it clear where you get your inputs from? Is it clear who you sell your chickens to? Are you getting a profit, or do you need support to get a profit? We look at her performance in the group. The last 5 times you took a loan, did you repay or did you not? We look at her savings profile. So you have a sense of who is ready for more and who is maybe should stay in the group and get a bit more support.
Yeah.
And then for the woman who's ready for more, then we intentionally think about, why is this woman, because this happens often, who is running a successful business, who needs access to capital, not able to access finance from the microfinance bank down the street. They refuse to engage with her. We have identified things in our program to tackle those problems. One, maybe they don't have information. We know she's credit worthy. Maybe they cannot see it, right? So we have helped digitize their records as a group. So the microfinance, can say, okay, Madam Obuzele, we've looked at her, we've seen her profile, we've seen she's repaid loans. Some of the loans were 500. Now she wants 1,000. Maybe it's not such of a big risk to give her $1,000 because she's repaid all the other times 100%, right? So that record keeping digitally, even if you don't have a digital record, we have field agents that can help her. We say, okay, you want to go to the bank. These are the documents the bank will need. And that's the due diligence. They need this information to assess you. Let's help gather that together. And we give it to them. The second thing is the bank may not engage because, they say this is very small loans. We don't want to give a 500 and 600 there. So we say, no, we have a group. We have projects everywhere where we say they are coming together as associations of enterprises, as groups of VSLAs, and together they want 10,000, which they will distribute internally with the group support and pressure, because if the whole group takes a loan of 10,000 and your portion is 500, you better pay because it's your neighbor. It's Madam Kechi is looking at Madam Informal. Okay, so, so it gives the bank assurance of the group mechanism and the group trusts and the group pressure, and also the size is such that the microfinance thinks or the bank thinks, okay, yes, we should engage. And then very importantly, there's also changes on the bank side. Many of our women are farmers. They don't earn a regular salary every month, right? It's the season. She plants, she harvests, she processes, or she sells, and then she makes her money.
Yeah.
So just the simple changes that say, the same way you would design for the big bank, the right loan product, we say, okay, we are bringing 1,000 women that need a specific product, that kind of product. These are the kinds of sizes. Repayments cannot be monthly because it will appear they have defaulted, but in reality, it's not tailored to their needs. Why can't we tailor the repayments to the harvest seasons? How can you ask her for a land title and property? I'm a Nigerian woman. I'm inheriting nothing because I'm a woman. In my culture, that's often the case. I'm me with my PhD, nothing. So instead of a title, property title or land, what is the alternative? Maybe the digital data that you have on her credits. Maybe it is the tractor she's about to buy. You can take that as a guarantee.
Mm,
Or maybe it is she has a receipt from the warehouse where she stored her goods, saying we have these goods and we have valued it at $500. So all those things that tailor the product to the woman. We have found we invested $15 million in supporting different banks to design products for women. And it unlocked $750 million in loans. The women were just waiting for the right product.
mm,
And all that money went out to businesses to grow.
mm,
And then, so we do all these things, gather them in groups, support them to prepare their businesses, identify who is ready, help to provide the data for the bank to assess the risk, help the bank to design the right product. Sometimes, despite all of these things, the banks will still not engage. So sometimes we say, okay, we'll take on some of the risk. You think our women are too risky? No problem. We'll open a bank account, we'll put a bit of money there. If she defaults, you can draw down on that money. You know what's interesting? Our women repay 97 to 99% of the time. And many times those banks will now discover you did not need our risk sharing or our guarantee, and we're able to pull that and use it for some other programming, right? So
mm.
basically the moment we are in is a moment of crisis because there isn't a lot of grant funding, but it's also an opportunity. Because what we do in our programming in women's economic empowerment is not only connect her to the VSLA that provides support and enables her to meet her family needs and gives her a say in the family, but for the woman who is an entrepreneur, it connects her to capital that is there to serve her and will stay in the community. It won't disappear tomorrow
Mm.
because the donor is no longer interested. You see, and that's the capital that allows her to create jobs, to grow her income, maybe hire people. And I truly think that's a differentiator in the work that CARE does, is that we actually hope that our women graduate from our support and do not continue to depend on us moving forward and
Yeah,
become full economic agents in their community of
yeah,
growth.
yeah.
Yeah,
That is actually very key because I mean, that is how you know that what you are doing is working or the effect you have is
exactly.
actually showing in their businesses because they cannot remain in the position where they are receiving support every time
Dependent.
they see the growth.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for that. But two follow-up questions based on what you have said, right? I mean, you've talked about the VSLA a lot. That's the Savings and Loan
Village Savings and Loans
Association,
Association.
right?
Yes.
So for women who are hearing this for the first time, how can they access this? Is it open to everybody? Is there a specific demographic of women that this is supposed to reach out to? And are there other products that CARE has that are for women within Africa?
Yes. So our VSLAs are open to women and men. Our groups are
Yeah,
70% women, but we have men also
men.
in our groups. These
Okay.
are groups where sometimes it's CARE who is in a community and encouraging them to support them. We have manuals that allow groups to sort of see how to form. They are self-governed. We don't come and impose ourselves on groups. We tell the groups, this is how you form, this is how you set up your governance committee, this is how you keep your records financially, how you contribute. These are the guidance we provide to you to sort of set up a separate pool of funds for emergencies and how you can decide, okay, when you're ready to then access formal finance. So what we try to provide is structure to sort of support that. Our community-based trainers and field agents, or a local organization that we've given grant financing to enable that. But in the end, we come to a community and we offer the opportunity to start, right? Our local organizations offer the opportunity to start. CARE has formed the most service groups in the world, but there are other organizations as well that do it, right? And all of those organizations are an opportunity to join a savings group, right? So if a woman is interested in a savings group, I would say find the nearest CARE office. Find the nearest CARE office. We don't turn anyone back. We will give you the tools. We will give you the free training to be able to go into a community and start with the other women and men, a group, right? And does CARE have other tools for women? Our organization is focused on advancing the cause of women and girls. So whether it is access to skill building opportunities so that you're placed in jobs, whether it is health entrepreneurship. So we have specifically community health worker programs where we help women find a whole channel, there of like enterprise opportunities, or in humanitarian situations, transfers of and grants so that in a crisis you can navigate. There is so much work There is so much work care does. If there is something that happens in development that affects women, care is there. Care works in communities to help dialogue in the community between men and women, supporting families to reduce gender-based violence, supporting companies to reduce child labor within corporate value chains, right? So we're everywhere in the humanitarian and development space, partnering with others to drive aims that ultimately are about better outcomes for women and girls everywhere.
Thank you very much for that. And I think one thing I really appreciate about your answers is you are very detailed. And I mean, before I even ask the question, you're already answering a couple of the questions that I have on my list. So thank you very much
I'm
for being so
distorting your interview,
thorough.
your interview sequence.
No, it is fine. Thank you for being so thorough about it. I mean, I appreciate you
Um,
being very detailed and thorough with your answers. But then you've worked with a lot of women. I mean, you've designed products and designed
yeah.
initiatives that reach these women. But then for women that probably are still struggling, like I said, this is for aspiring entrepreneurs or professionals and all. For women who are just starting their own journey, what is one advice you will give to these women as per how to, navigate both access to finance, starting their businesses and being
Hmm.
stable or being able to scale their businesses beyond what it is at the moment. So,
I've had a very windy career. I started as a medical doctor. I did a master's PhD, became a health economist, then became a senior exec in a Fortune 500 doing strategy, and now I lead, a large team in a nonprofit. I think, I think I've always, and I advise people to this, I've always avoided over planning my life.
mm,
See, there's nothing like a beginning that is just full of excitement. And I think just the start with the attitude of like, you just have your whole life ahead of you, and the world is your oyster,
mm,
and you just have an opportunity to make choices. You make the choice, you have an experience, you decide, do I like this? Do I not? What am I learning from this? You take that and you build, right? So the first thing I would say is start with curiosity. What do you care about right now? What do you really care about? That is the seed for a career. It is the seed for a business. That thing, because that your passion is what is going to get you on a very hard day. When you've
yeah,
asked 500 people for a loan for your business and they said no, or you've asked you pitched your startup 1 billion times and they said no, or you've
yeah,
applied for the I'm raising my hand because it happened to me for the 100th job and they said no. It's passion. It's the oh, I am this right now. I really think this is exciting and I want to do it. That's going to get you up the next morning to keep doing. So lead with curiosity, lead with a problem you want to solve. I
mm,
think leading with a problem versus I want this title, I want this, I want to be CEO, I want to be AVP. It opens up options for you, right? So think
yeah,
about who I have moved from title, medical doctor, health economist, I think senior director. Now, as I say, vice president. The title didn't matter. What mattered is that the fact that I was open, that it doesn't have the next thing doesn't have to be VP. I'm focused on the problem of I want to solve for access to opportunity. Suddenly I found myself doing all these interesting things,
yeah,
having all these interesting conversations as the world
mm,
evolved. In the career I've had, we started manual. Suddenly computers came up. I couldn't have anticipated those computers when I was planning my career in the beginning.
yeah,
Now this AI thing is everywhere,
yeah,
reshaping what work we can do and where. So what you want to do is instead of fixating on a title or a specific space, fixate on a problem and then see what opportunities arise to engage with that problem. And
mm,
then the third thing I'll say, don't just focus on the technical things. Oh, I really know my stuff. That's really important. People, that's how you see the business. People is how you build coalitions. People is how you build teams. So learning how to just build relationships with people. How do you get people connected to an idea? How do you get people to join you on your journey? That's how you get a job. That is how you sell a business, right? So it's so easy as a young person who's starting off and trying to start a business, be like, oh, the thing I need to do is unpack the loan process. What you need to do is be the kind of person who can sit across a bank manager and have a great conversation and have tea and coffee. I'm telling you. And maybe that's how you land the person who will fund your business. Huh? Maybe that's how you land the next job, right? So that would be my advice. My advice, curiosity is a gift. Start, the beginnings are amazing because your world is before you. And if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. What did I learn? Move on. Dust yourself off and keep going. Focus on problems, not on titles, because that is what opens up all these options to you. And in addition to the technical and all the like rigorous things, layer on mastering people, mastering relationships, building connection. Connection is what powers careers. Connection is what powers businesses. It's what powers reforms, for people who become politicians. In the end, it's really down to who thinks what you're doing makes sense and who will come with you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, especially for that people part of things. I mean, especially if you're in this social impact space, I know people is like very key and very,
That's true.
very important when building. And I think I like the part where you're saying start with curiosity. Don't put yourself in a box because there are many,
No.
many opportunities out there, many things that you can, do. So start with curiosity. I'm taking that one for myself personally. Well,
I'm
I
glad.
mean, I cannot go and start my career all over again. I mean, it's not a bad time to apply it, right? So thank
I
you very
agree.
much. Apply curiosity in every area I find myself, wherever I'm, entering or whatever space I'm in, and also
Thank you.
learn people. Thank you very much for that particular lesson as well. So I really appreciate it. But before we round up this interview, do you have any other thing that you would like to say or any advice that you'd like to give to young women out there before we wrap up?
I think one of the most important things I've done in my career on the people side is cultivate sponsors. There's an overfocus, I think, on mentorship for young people, someone to give you advice. A sponsor is someone who goes into a room and I think one of the most important things you can do as a young woman growing your career is cultivate sponsorship, is
Mm,
reach out to senior people intentionally, keep them apprised of your progress,
mhm.
keep them involved, solve problems for them
Yeah,
so that they can speak for you in rooms. Yeah, yes, you need to be qualified, right? We are overqualified for the things that we do. But in a lot of the conversations I've been in, when it comes down to it, it's who will raise their hand for you. So let me leave the young people with that, is
yeah.
do those things I advised on the personal front, but cultivate sponsorship too. That's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, and be valuable. Don't be needy all the time. You should be able to give value as well to
100%.
people. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on this interview once again. Thank you so much. I'm sure the community would love this interview because we have loads of business women that would be eager to learn from this, all that you have shared, and also learn the impact that care is doing and all that. So I really appreciate you coming on this interview. Thank you so much. And I hope we'll be able to get more of you, for other initiatives that we might have in the future. So we look forward to doing more of this. And I really, once again, appreciate you coming on board. Thank you so much.